Hi, good evening. We have with us Dr. Praveen Arany, who is Assistant Professor at Oral Biology, Biomedical Engineering, School of Dental Medicine, Engineering and Applied Sciences at University at Buffalo, New York, USA. So we are privileged to have him here at the Global Innovation Forum. And I would just like to ask you, how is your experience so far?
Thank you, Dr. Gadipati. It's been a pleasure visiting Vizag. I've heard so much about it, and this is my first visit, so it's a beautiful city. It lives up to its name. And I think the most unique part of this meeting was the forum of bringing together academicians and investors into the same room, which is a very unique concept in many ways. Speed dating in biotech, if you will. And I think, based on our own personal research, I think it's a great forum to try and find the right partners. So I'm very excited about the meeting and look forward to interacting with people.
So, how do you think the session went today?
I think the emphasis. I'm a scientist, clinical scientist by training, so I think the emphasis on the translation from a stakeholder perspective is very unique. I think you would normally go to a business pitch to get that kind of a perspective, but the academicians here and the all the deans and the chairs of all the big universities here, I think that shows that the bridge is being the value is being bridged, and I think that's a great forum to create. And like I think we were talking before, the ecosystem where the stakeholders are at the same table, I think is very unique, and I think that's fantastic.
As well as the VCR park. So, how do you feel? Do you feel that's going to change the dynamic of the current ecosystem, the way it exists right now, or do you feel that that could be modified and could be better in any way?
There's always going to be space for innovation and modifications and improvements, but I think the founding principles we were just talking before this are very sound, and I think not only do you need to build an infrastructure for the long run, for the end game here, which will be a platform for the launch of not only today's technology but also tomorrow's and the day after. So I think for that you need to invest, and getting the right stakeholders to the same table and getting the principles in terms of we're going to make an infrastructure that's going to help many launches. That's the kind of forward thinking you need, and I think you have stumbled, or rather you have forged your way. I don't think it's stumbling, but I think you have forged your way into the right foundational principles. And given, I'm sure you're aware, given the lack of academic funding, it is taxpayers' money, so we are supposed to be accountable for all the research we do. Unfortunately, as you're well aware, very few of that actual money gets translated into an actual therapy. It's not more because the science is not good or the clinical need is not there. It's the bridging part where stakeholders are thinking practically in terms of, will this make money? Will this actually cure a problem? And that's basically business and management, which scientists are really bad at and clinicians don't care too much about. I think that's not the kind of thinking. We want to help our patients, and that's primary. The newest technology, if it helps me do a better job helping my patients, I would want it now. But there's a big gap between what I read in a science journal and what I can use in my patients. And at the other end of the spectrum, if the only endpoint for a scientist is grants and publications, there's very little incentive unless someone supports his research to get involved with the translational aspect. As you know, in the US, this is, I guess, the next big wave, and you guys are the early surfers here in Vizag. So.
Thank you. That's amazing. I just was reading news this morning. Apparently, the Supreme Court of India has cleared the path for something related to the allocation of the funds for cancer. Even the recent budget, I think there was a cancer-related fund that was allocated, and there's more awareness that it has to be a collaborative effort, and we can't do it by ourselves. We have a huge need, way behind, and so hopefully this kind of an endeavor, do you think would be able to attract researchers of quality to come to India from abroad and be able to partake in this?
Definitely, and more importantly, I think it's the pace that you're offering, which is much more accelerated. I speak from my own experience. I'm at a point in my career where my technology is mature, I think, but getting federal funding to support that in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be an uphill battle. You're competing with the best of best, so obviously it's going to be tough. But I think the pace that you offer and the infrastructure that you offer with something like this is going to be the big attraction. we do what we do because we want to help people, and if it's falling through the gap because it's not making that last step, it's extremely frustrating, especially as young investigators and young clinicians who want to make a difference in patient care. So I think you have stumbled upon the right founding principles, and that it boils down to sustainability. How are you going to sustain? I mean, success stories are what success breeds success. So if you can pick the front runners to actually succeed, you'll bring a lot more people in. And I personally am very interested. So I would love to discuss that more.